Hello and welcome to the Late Late Show with me, Irish Tommy. Thanks for joining me as always. I'm sure we'll have a few familiar faces in the crowd. And obviously, we're going to get into our game against Liverpool. And we'll look forward, as you saw from the thumbnail, to a massively important game away at Palace tomorrow. So here's see who's in. Usual suspect as always. It's a game we dare not lose. Yes, and we'll talk about the why in a little bit. According to Claret and Booze, the new tactics is decided by committee of players, Moyes, and the coaches. Yeah, look, I really don't know how those things are decided. It's an interesting one. Certainly, it's. I don't know. I mean, I think what happened against Arsenal didn't come across as something that was by committee. I mean, it seemed to be just a reaction from the players. Maybe it could be called a breaking point. I'm just throwing this out there. Look, I don't know the inner workings or what goes on behind the scenes at West Ham, and I don't pretend to. But it just felt like something snapped in the players in that Arsenal game. You know, when they had such a terrible start and they're 2-0 down after 10 minutes. And I think the players just took the handbrake off themselves, as it were, is what my suspicion is. I don't think at any point on the sideline Moyes tells the players, even that early in the game, especially that early in the game, to just go for it. I don't think he has that mindset at all. I think that game took on a life of its own, and it had nothing to do with Moyes. And that was really the turning point. Coming back in that performance against Arsenal, outside of the first kind of 15 or 20 minutes, now I think it did help that Arsenal relaxed and took their foot off the gas and started playing like they'd already won the game. That they kind of handed over all of the momentum that they had in the game, the grip that they had on the game. They slowly relinquished it. And I suppose the moment in that game that really showed it was the way we won the penalty to get us back in the game. Thomas Partey, just, very, very casual, trying a silly little flick. Rice wins that ball off him, squares it to Paqueta, we get a penalty. All of a sudden it's 2-1. Now our tails are up. And Arsenal just can't get that momentum back because you can't turn that stuff on and off like a switch always. Sometimes you relax in a game and you hand the momentum over to the other team, and it can be hard to get it back. So I think some of it had to do with Arsenal. But I think our players as well, when we got back in that game at 2-1, I think their mindset was completely different, and they decided to just go for it. And like I say, the game took on a life of its own. Don't think it had anything to do with Moyes. He certainly wouldn't have set us up to play like that. And we carried that, obviously, into the game against Ghent, albeit against much weaker opposition, but particularly in that second half against Ghent, I thought we were terrific. And then obviously went to Bournemouth, carried it into that game. And don't underestimate, what a great performance and what a great win that was. Going to Bournemouth is not an easy game. They're not mugs. They're a well-drilled team. They're well-oiled. They're kind of greater than the sum of their parts, let's say. And I thought that was a terrific result. To go to Bournemouth and win 4-0, you go anywhere in the Premier League, home or away, and score 4 goals, you're playing really well. I just think the Liverpool game is the one where I felt we just weren't at it in the same way. And I will come to that in more detail. I'll hopefully have Gatesy joining me before too long. And we'll kind of get into the Liverpool and Palace games. Pat Allen fan says, morning from Oz, we absolutely need to get something from this game. Yeah, 100%. Given the fixtures that come after this. Steve Tiley's in. Even Tomo for me, Saints, Everton, and one of Forest, Leicester, or Leeds to go down, in my opinion. But we do need to get something tomorrow. Yeah, like I said, I think we'll be okay. I think we're pretty close. I think to survival, but we're not quite there yet. And the Premier League is just too unpredictable for me to relax right now, but I do think we'll be okay. I agree. Yeah, I think Southampton definitely, I think, are screwed. Um, Everton, Forest, Leicester, Leeds. Yeah, I have to agree. I think it'll be well, no, it'll be two from one of those four. I think ultimately that will go down. Everton look bang in trouble, bang in trouble. I mean that game on Monday night is like Everton at home to Leicester. Um, that could go a long way to deciding who does or doesn't go down. No, they could still both go. It's possible Forest survive. Forest had a really good win. I mean, that was a cracking win against Brighton, and one that was desperately needed for Forest. I was surprised they won that. I didn't think they would. I thought a point was their best case scenario, um, but I expected Brighton to go there and beat them because Forest have been in free fall. That's a huge result for Forest, especially when you consider they're at 0-0. They missed a penalty. But look, I mean, look, none of these teams are going to stop fighting. None of them are just going to pack it in. Um, they can't afford to. They've got to give everything every time they go out on the pitch. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think I'm trying to think of the fixtures this weekend. I think Forest have got a really tough game. I think Forest have got a tough away game. I'm trying to think who it was now, but I do not fancy them to get anything but a loss. Forest. Um, So I think that they'll still be in trouble after this weekend. Like I said, Everton Leicester is massive. I don't know. I know Leeds are not very good, obviously, but I just have a sneaking suspicion that Leeds will be okay. I have a sneaking suspicion Leeds will survive. I don't think they'll get relegated. Um, for me, I'm really looking at um, Everton, Forest, and Leicester. I think it'll be two of those three. I think Leeds will just do enough. I think they just have enough about them. I know they can concede goals, but I just feel like Leeds will probably get a couple of results between now and the end of the season in those final few games. But we'll see. Look, I could be completely wrong. Leeds might lose every game they've got left. Um, of course, a lot will come down to the fixtures as well. Like it depends who you're playing. Like how many kind of winnable games do you have left? Teams are running out of them quickly, and it's why Palace is very, very important tomorrow. Got to play the strongest team possible. Yeah, we'll get into that as well because obviously rotation is something we're going to have to discuss and how we go about that. And did we do the right thing against Liverpool, playing a full strength team? Do you like change over me tomorrow? Emerson for Cresswell, Fornals for Socek. Yes, I don't think anyone would argue with that. Saints are down, and so are Leeds. So Pat thinks Leeds are going to go. Obviously, look, they're in with a real shout of the drop. Like I said, Everton, Leicester, Forest, Leeds, they all look pretty poor at the moment. It has to be said. It was Leeds Leicester, wasn't it, the other night? And Leeds were in the lead in that game and 1-0 up, and Leicester pulled it back and got the draw. Points are of little use to those four teams right now. I mean, one of those teams is going to have to like get 4 points from two games or something just to pull themselves a little bit away from it and give themselves a much better kind of statistical chance of survival. And it could be any one of those teams, or maybe none. Maybe none of them will do it. Maybe they'll all be in free fall for the rest of the season. Who the hell knows? But I'll have no downs. If you're talking about the middle of the field, about who would go in with Rice and Paqueta, you could go either or. Some people would prefer Downs in there. Some would go with Fornals. I think, frankly, either one would be much better than Socek. No Fornals and Downs. Fornals scores. Fornals scored against Bournemouth, but if you look at his scoring record for West Ham, Steve, it's he scores once in every blue moon. So now people here saying hello to each other. Surreal Frame is in the house. You know what's crack shit. Same old ding dong. You know how it is, lad. I was actually working today. I didn't finish till like 8 o'clock, so I had to get home, have the dinner, have a shower, and I was probably like a couple of minutes late starting the stream, but I'm here now. Can't leave him in charge. No, absolutely. I think whatever happens between now and the end of the season. All right, we're gonna go there. Fuck it, let's do it. I'm just gonna ask if we win the Conference League and stay up, and our good run of form and our better performances and style of play continue, would you keep Moyes? Would you? Because he's contracted till the end of next season. So if we win the Conference League and we continue with our better style of play, and we can continue to win our share of games, pick up a respectable number of points, finish the season strongly, would you leave him in charge next season? Would you say, okay, look, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, you can carry us into next season, but on a very short leash? Or would you still get rid of him in the summer? Now, personally, at the end of the season, I would get rid. I would try to bring in a kind of younger, more progressive manager, but I know not everyone would agree on it. And there may be some of you who've changed your mind, who maybe were thinking, a month ago, no, Moyes has got to go at the end of the season. Have any of you changed your minds, or have you at least softened your stance on the idea of Moyes staying next season? I really hope not. I think we need to make a change. I don't think a kind of final flourish would change my mind on that. And even winning the Conference League, I don't think would change my mind. I think what it would do is that if the board came out and said at the end of the season we're sticking with him, we're going to let him stay in charge into next season, I think I wouldn't be irate about it. A month ago, if you told me that, and there were rumors to that effect a while back that Jim White had brought up on Talksport, and I was fuming at the thought that he would be at West Ham next season. I think if you were to win the conference and keep us up and we finish with a flourish, I don't think I'd be as irate, but I still would be unhappy, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Hit the like button, folks. Takes a second and really helps out the channel. Cockney Buccaneers in. Evening on. Anyone know if the youngsters will display their FA Cup at London Stadium? Deserve a round of applause. That would be lovely, actually. Obviously, we've got Man United at home next weekend. Big game. I think that would be lovely, actually. That'd be a really nice touch, to bring them in. They deserve it. I mean, don't forget they've also won the league. So, league and cup double is a tremendous achievement. It doesn't happen too often, I wouldn't think. And I don't mean just for West Ham, but, teams doing the double. Probably at that level, probably doesn't happen very often. So I think it'd be wonderful if before the game the whole team were able to come out and just have a little parade around the pitch alongside the fans and parade the trophy around that. That's a great idea. I'd love to see that. Cliff Newman, something definitely has happened. We went from sideways backwards to crossing the halfway line with the ball. Yeah, it's strange. It was literally like someone flicked a switch. Like someone flicked a switch. It happened in the Arsenal game. We all saw it happen. And then we carried it forward. I think not so much in the Liverpool game. I was a bit disappointed with our approach to the Liverpool game. I thought we were too passive and we defended too deeply. But like I say, I'll get into all of that. Hopefully, Gatesy won't be too much longer, and we'll start getting into the meat of it. Greeno, good to see you, mate. How are you doing? Vinay, according to CMB sources, Noble also involved, and the players and coaches won't go along with Moyes' tactics of keep it tight for 70 minutes to nick a goal. Well, they're definitely not doing that, are they? Certainly in the Arsenal game, I think, like I said earlier, I think something did happen with the players mentally, and I think they just said, "Fuck it, I don't care what Moyes wants us to do. We're just going to go out and attack and try and beat Arsenal, try and get ourselves back in this game." And we looked so much better. But obviously, look, I say I'm speculating. That's just my opinion of what happened. Um, it certainly wasn't Moyes telling them, "Fuck it, boys, just attack," because he just doesn't do that. You remember away at Brighton, we were 2-0 down. They were all over us. It was horrible. There was a break in play. One of the Brighton players was down receiving treatment. Um, Rice went over to the sideline to have a chat with Moyes, and Moyes essentially told him, "Look, keep it tight and just try not to concede any more goals. Try and keep it at two." Moyes Noble or Rice walked away, just shaking his head like, "Just fucking hell." So don't tell me Moyes just suddenly changed his approach in the Arsenal game and told him just to, throw off the shackles and go for it. He doesn't do that. It's not in his nature. So that was all the players. Um, it would be interesting. I would love to know for certain what the dynamic is right now on the training ground, and tactically how things are being approached now, because we look like a completely different team. I mean, you look at the performance against Arsenal and then Ghent and then Bournemouth, and you can't help but think that where the fuck was this all season? Same players. Where was this all season? It shouldn't have taken this long for us to put some performances in like that, because I mean we all knew that the team were capable of it because we'd seen it. We knew they were capable. We just hadn't seen it for a very long time, and it was hard to say like, why can these guys not put any kind of string of performances together? I mean, even the games we won, the performances were nothing to write home about. I mean, it was still pretty ugly stuff, even in the wins. So yeah, so something has materially changed in the way that we're approaching games. I mean, I don't believe it was just Moyes saying, "Ah, fuck it, just go for it." I don't think he thinks that way at all. Cliff Newman, I hope he will rest. I hope he will rest our best players after Palace game. Need them fit for this semi-final coming up. It depends on what happens. Depends on what happens tomorrow. Um, like for example, we get a win tomorrow. We've got City midweek away. I would be perfectly happy for him to rest everybody. Rest everybody. Um, I think whatever 11 we put out, we lose that game away to City. I really do. I mean, they're really gunning for the title, and they're on fire at the moment. I just don't think there's any way we go up there, even with our best 11, our strongest 11, and get something from that game. They're just too good. But I mean, but the pressure will be on a bit. If we don't get a result at Palace, as they say, worst case scenario, we lose at Palace tomorrow. You're just not in a position to have that approach to the City game to rest a lot of players. You're going to have to go up there and just put your best team out and dig in and try and get something. Now, I don't think that will work. I think we'll still lose, but I think Moyes will feel like he has to go and try and get something there. The players will feel like they've got to go up there and try and get something. So tomorrow's game is huge, absolutely huge. And how we approach the rest of the season and how we do and whether we win the Conference League or not, weirdly, could hinge on the result at Palace tomorrow. It really could. A win tomorrow versus a loss, things look very, very different going forward. And the way we approach the games coming after that is going to have to be very different. Fatigue and VAR was the issue for Liverpool, but got to go for it tomorrow with strongest side and trying to get 3 more points. I agree. VAR didn't help. I agree that in the second half, I thought from like maybe the hour mark or so, I thought the players started to look really, really leggy. and obviously those affected the result. It was difficult those final 30 minutes. You know, the players are so leggy. I accept that. I think there is some fatigue there, no doubt. Um, but that fatigue was not there in the first half. It wasn't. I thought the energy levels were good from the players. I think they were trying. They didn't look that leggy to me in the first half. I just think tactically, Moyes got it wrong. I thought we sat far too deep. We didn't press Liverpool high enough, and I don't mean necessarily press them, up around their own penalty area, because I know that can be a bit of a dangerous game as well. There's no guarantees that would have worked out well for us. You know, they're very good on the counter attack, Liverpool. That maybe would have played into the hands a little bit too much. So I understand not pressing with a high press, but I think we should have been pressing them once they got into our half of the pitch. I think that's where we should have been pressuring them, trying to force some errors, trying to win the ball back in a decent position in and around the middle of the field. Um, but we were defending so deeply in that game. We were just allowing Liverpool to have the ball in our half and only really pressed hard when they were kind of 25 yards from goal. We tried to keep it really condensed back there, keep it tight. It didn't really work that great for me. I know they only scored twice in the game, but and one of them was a long range kind of shot that beat Fabianski. And does anyone else think Fabianski should have saved that? I've at the time when I saw it, I felt like he should have got there. And when I've looked at all the replays, I still think Fabianski was slow in reacting to that shot. And I think he should have got to that. I think he should have been able to turn that around the post. But maybe I'm being a bit harsh. What do you think? But yeah, I just think tactically we got it wrong. It just smacked of Moyes playing against the badge again, where he just had us sitting too deep. It allowed Liverpool just to control possession and control the tempo of the game, which I just didn't like, especially at home. I think at home we should be getting after teams and putting it up to them. I mean, look how little respect Villa showed Newcastle. I mean, they just got after them. You know, I thought we were just too passive in the Liverpool game. I didn't like it. It left a bitter taste for me after that game. I thought we could have done better. Yeah, we understand. Sorry, now some more people saying hello. Kids are expected to parade trophies against Man United. Excellent. Great news. That's great to see. What a bunch of youngsters we've got, though. I mean, I think it didn't like the under 21s won. I think this evening, and I think some of the under 18s played in that game. And I think Earthy scored a goal in that game, and Mubama scored a goal in that game. So at least we know at least those two, and I'm sure some of the others can step up to under 21 level and still be really good. So that's a great sign as well. Everton really struggled to score. I thought Forest got a bit lucky against Brighton, who were tired after the semi-final. Yeah, maybe so. I didn't see the game, so I can't comment on how it went. But the end result was they got 3 points for us, and that was absolutely massive for them. And we obviously piled on the pressure on Leeds, Everton, and Leicester. Everton have been the top flight since 1954. Yeah. Yeah, you never really think. It's kind of it'd be kind of hard to wrap your head around Everton relegated, wouldn't it? Because I mean, like I say, like all my life, they've been an ever present in the top flight. They've just always been that, and I know they've had close shaves before. I think under Lampard, didn't it? Like after Lampard came in, they just like barely escaped that season. When Lampard first took the job, but so they've had their scares in the past, but they've always rallied and they've survived them. Sometimes by the skin of their teeth, but just the Championship with Everton in it would like Premier League with no Everton in it would just to me would just be kind of a bit weird. Not that I care. I don't give a shit about Everton. If they go down, they go down. But I'm sure they wouldn't care if we went down. But yeah, it'll just be a bit surreal to see Everton actually relegated to the Championship. Forest, yeah, thank you, Steve. Yeah, Forest away at Brentford. I don't see him getting anything there. I think Brentford will just be too good for them. I mean, their away record is horrific. We'll relegate Leeds. That's entirely possible. Leeds is our final home game of the season, second last game of the season. So, yeah, it's entirely possible that we could relegate Leeds if we beat them at home. Everton versus Leicester is a key match. Leeds will score goals, but they crumble defensively when under pressure. Yeah, that's the thing. They've been that way for a long time. Leeds. It's like weird thing with Leeds is it's like no matter what manager they bring in, you wouldn't know they change managers. You know, they look like the exact same Leeds, no matter what. And it's a weird one. You know, you think you change managers that Leeds would look a bit different under different managers, but if you didn't know any different and you're watching Leeds right now, you wouldn't think Bielsa had left, right? If someone said Bielsa, if you'd gone away somewhere and you'd come back and you're watching Leeds and someone said, yeah, Bielsa's still there, still in charge, you wouldn't question it by the way they're playing. They would look like, yeah, it looks like Bielsa's Leeds. So they just do the same thing no matter who's in charge. I guess they just hire managers who will play the style of play they want them to play. But unfortunately, for the moment, it's whether it's been Bielsa or Marsh, or the current manager, I'm drawing a blank on. Sorry, I'm tired. You know, they just they haven't improved. They're still the exact same Leeds. Leeds have a very tough run in Bournemouth, Man City, Bournemouth away, Man City away, Newcastle home, West Ham away, Spurs home. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I guess like a lot of those teams are going to be fighting for. Yeah, you see, these are not going to be maybe. Yeah, all of these teams. None of these teams are going to be on the beach, are they? Like Bournemouth are going to want to win a game or two more just to make sure they stay up. I think Bournemouth will feel they still need, a win just to make sure they get over the line. Man City obviously still challenging for the title, in the driving seat now, but they'll feel like they have to keep winning, and they'll certainly be far too good for Leeds. Newcastle, they're obviously still fighting up there for top four. They'll want to make sure they secure that Champions League spot. Spurs very possibly will still be in with a shout of for a Champions League spot. They'll want to make sure that they can try and get into the top four for Champions League spot. They'll still be fighting for that, I'm sure. Weirdly, we could be the team that are on the beach. We could be the team that are on the beach. I know one of you said a little while ago that you feel like we'll relegate Leeds. We could be the one team that actually is on the beach against them. I mean, if we're in, by that time, I believe we'd have played both legs of the semi-final. Am I right in saying that? We could be safe already. I think we will be safe by the time we play Leeds. And we could have a Conference League final coming. I mean, that Leeds game, we might rest, we might rotate heavily. The players that are on the pitch very likely not going to play with much intensity. We're already safe in the league. It's all about the Conference League final. So we might be the team that just doesn't turn up in that game, doesn't play with any intensity. If Leeds are scrapping for their lives, they'll certainly be throwing the kitchen sink at us. So that would be an interesting game. Hopefully we are on the beach for that game and our minds are all on a Conference League final. So we'll see how it pans out. End of the day, it's up to us. Can't rely on other teams to drop points. They'll be playing teams who are on the beach. Yeah, some of them will have beach games and might pick up points where they weren't necessarily expected on paper to pick them up. There will be a number of teams who cannot qualify for Europe and cannot get relegated. And we've seen it before. A lot of them, they're just going through the motions at the end of the season. So that will affect things. He won't rotate. I don't think he'll rotate. Do you mean at all? He won't rotate at all, or you think he won't rotate tomorrow, Cliff? I think Leicester have lost Iheanacho to injury. Yeah. Vardy looked pretty sharp when he came on, actually, the other day. I thought Vardy looked really good. He was sharp, scored a really lovely goal. He's a good finisher. And I think if they have to lean on Vardy between now and the end of the season, I think regardless of his age, I think he's had more than enough kind of rest. He's not fatigued. Hasn't been a long season for him. He hasn't played a whole lot. So I think, Vardy can absolutely carry the front line for the remaining few games of the season. It's a blow, obviously, though, to lose Iheanacho. Do you hear Sheffield United don't have the money to pay their players their promotion bonuses? Ooh. Yeah, I don't know what their promotion bonuses are, obviously. But, I mean, I'd imagine with the Premier League money they can expect, they can surely give them their bloody bonuses. They might not have the money right now to pay it on time, but, given how much money is involved in, for the TV rights and everything in the Premier League, I imagine they can give them their bloody bonuses. Excuse me. Oh, I'm tired. Obama is a deal price. Antonio coming in 100%. Yeah. Look, our style of play just doesn't lend itself to Danny Ings whatsoever. Yeah, you just can't put Danny Ings up there on his own the way you can with Antonio. It won't work. I think Obama absolutely is a better option. Much more similar to Antonio. I think will fit into the way Moyes wants to play. I'll tell you honestly, I mean, I don't know. Presumably, Moyes knows that. It would be very interesting to see if, for example, he decided to rest Antonio tomorrow. He won't do that. Antonio will play. But if he decided to rest Antonio tomorrow, would he put Ings in there or Obama? That would be a really interesting one to see. I just don't think Ings can play as that lone striker up top. It's a waste of time. Would you take Ward-Prowse in the summer? Yeah, I mean, if he's going to play instead of Souček. I mean, if you think about it, really, if whoever the manager is next season, whether they keep Moyes on or whether it's a new manager, that to me, that'd be a cracking midfield trio, actually. If you think about Rice, now look, I know Rice is probably gone, but if by some miracle Rice decided to stay another season or whatever, yeah, that'd be a nice trio, wouldn't it? Kind of Rice, Paqueta, and Ward-Prowse. That'd be really nice. Would I take him? Yes, I would. I'm maybe not quite as high on him as some people, but then it could be just because Southampton are having a horrible season. But yeah, I think he's a very good player, Ward-Prowse, like a really good player. And certainly, if there's a choice between him and Souček, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Do you actually think he'll leave? I'll tell you why I asked this. I know it seems like a foregone conclusion that if Southampton were relegated, that he would sign for a Premier League team for next season. But I remember, like, we were interested in him not so long ago, in fact, and not only us, there were other teams as well interested, and like real interest, like as in we might bid very soon interest. But I think Ward-Prowse had basically said that he's very, very settled down on the South Coast. He loves it down there. His wife loves it there. His kids love it there, and they just love their life down there, and they just didn't want to move to London or frankly anywhere else. I mean, they were just so settled and they love their life so much down there. He just didn't want to leave Southampton. I just wonder, because there are people who actually do put that ahead of kind of monetary gain, um, or even career to a certain extent, where they just don't want to leave. And Ward Prowse is one of those. So I just wonder if Ward Prowse, maybe has a sit down with his wife. Maybe he's already had that sit down with his wife and with the club. And maybe he's already decided, you know what? Okay, if we get relegated, I'll give it a season, because I really don't want to leave. Ideally, I'd like to stay at Southampton. So, maybe I'll stay for one season, and let's see if we can bounce right back and get back into the Premier League, and then obviously I'll stay on. And don't be shocked if he does that. If Ward Prowse decides to do that, don't be shocked. He might give it a season in the Championship in Southampton. I think he's that settled down on the south coast there, and that happy living there. Be great to see Everton go down. It would be huge. That would be massive. That would be massive. Look, we see 3 teams go down every season. Sometimes it's the 3 that came up. Sometimes it's 2 of the 3, but another team that we thought were going to struggle anyway and weren't particularly great anyway, and maybe had only been there a couple of seasons and have gone back down then. But yeah, I mean, for Everton to go down, I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, that would be huge for Everton to get relegated to the Championship. That would actually be massive. That like I say, they've been in the top flight of English football since 1954. That to me would be not a shock, in the sense that I don't think any of us thought Everton were a great team. I don't think it's any great surprise, especially as they hired Lampard. And the way that club is run, the whole thing seems to be a mess, and it has been for a while. So in that sense, it won't be a shock that Everton get relegated, but it's still a huge thing for a team like Everton to be relegated to the Championship. And aren't they like they're building a stadium right now? So I mean, that's going to be that could have massive repercussions for them. I mean, they'll probably get away with it if they bounce right back, if they come straight back up. But I tell you what, they're going to be an unbelievable mess if they get relegated and don't get promoted back in one season. That's going to cause all kinds of problems for Everton. Yeah, it'd just be huge for a team like Everton to get relegated. You never really think they'll actually go, do you? Really, because they've always kind of survived, haven't they? Even in their bad seasons. Mubama went off injured. Bollocks. Okay, went off injured, ankle injury, playing for under 21s. Shite. Didn't know that. Well, look, Antonio's going to play anyway tomorrow, and I suspect even when he goes off, I think it'll be Cornet that probably comes on for him rather than Ings. But I suppose it will all depend as well on the score. It'll depend on the scoreline what happens. New owner wants out of Sheffield United. Yeah, I genuinely have got no idea what's going on. KOC, it's my 21st birthday tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll watch us clinch a win and secure survival. Yeah, fingers crossed you'll get the best possible birthday present tomorrow, mate. But yeah, I mean, if we win tomorrow, I think we're home and hosed. That's why I think it's such a huge game. A win tomorrow, and you can play whoever the hell you like against City. And whoever it is we play, ahead of the Alkmaar game, just I won't give a shit. Just rest everybody, and let's be really fresh for that Alkmaar game, and try and make sure that we can make that final. Once we're safe, that's it. It's all about conference, and a win tomorrow, I think doesn't mathematically get us there, but I think realistically, we win tomorrow, we're not getting relegated. He probably wouldn't have played him anyway. It was more hope than anything else. Might have been on the bench. He might have made the bench. Although that's not easy at the moment. I mean, geez, bench places. We've got, is it everybody except Scamacca is available for selection? So even getting on the bench now is, It's not easy. Um, we have to win this one. We want to rise above. Wouldn't it be absolutely fucking hilarious, given like how bad we've been this season and what a poor campaign we're having, if we rallied for the final few games and ended up finishing higher than Chelsea? That would be amazing. That would laugh my fucking arse off. Evening all, how are you going, Ryan's Tommy? How are you? I'm good, my friend. I'm good. Tired, but I'm good. So I won't keep you all too long. Like I say, I'm working again tomorrow and Sunday, so gonna miss the bloody West Ham game. Steve is still Moyes out. Peter says Moyes has to go, whatever. So agreement at the moment. Pat Owen fan, if you have Downs in midfield, Rice can push on with Paqueta. Enough of Souček, please. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Downs is happy to sit. And Rice, as you say, can push on with Paqueta. Certainly, I'd have no problem if that's what happened tomorrow. It won't. Souček will play. Souček, fucker, he never gets tired. That man's got an absolute engine on him. I'll still replace him in summer. This season was horrible compared to the last two and needed change. Yeah, I can't risk another season like this. I just can't do it. I think we need a younger, more progressive manager. Give him a chance. And always going end of season, hopefully with a cup. Well, that would be perfect, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're going to bow out with a flourish, right? Bow out with a cup win as a manager, and first since 1980 for the club, a meaningful trophy, and kept us up in the end. I think he could leave with his kind of head held high, and I think we'd all look back on it and appreciate the good things that he did do. It would be perfect. No, can't trust him. Think Moyes is taking as far as he can. Get rid and move on. Yeah. Fonseca being touted as manager. Yes, I saw that. I would take that. I like Fonseca. I think he's a good manager, and if he was to come in, I'd be quite excited. Actually, I'd be optimistic for the coming season. I like Fonseca. Keep Moyes. Depends on who's available to replace him. If there is someone, I would say thanks for all the fish, but it's time to move on. There's always someone to replace him, Garino. The world's not short of managers. Oh my God, no way Moyes has now reverted back to last season starting 11. What happens when he isn't able to do that? Well, that's the question, isn't it, Randy? But I agree. No way. He's got to go. Cliff Newman as well agrees. God, no, Moyes has to go. George wants Moyes to stay and continue on as manager next season. No, Moyes has got to go. Unusual suspect. Been Moyes out since Everton away. Geez, don't remind me of that game. No, Moyes out, please. This cannot be trusted. Potter or Carrick. Yeah, I would take either. Potter or Carrick would be absolutely fine with me. Won't keep Moyes simply because I believe in the Claret and Booze rumour. Moyes will just play the same players over and over again. Some issue Antonio such a Crystal and Fab will start. Yeah, I agree. They will honour his contract, wherever if we stay up on a trophy, he will have met his requirements. I accept the excuses for this poor season. What excuses are you accepting that would explain this season to the point where you don't think it's Moyes' fault? I will get rid of Moyes just before the conference final. Oh, that would be so cruel. Can you imagine? If like Kevin Nolan is the manager that wins us the cup. Moyes got to go. Definitely has done his work. If he stays up and wins, yeah, yeah, we get it, George. Moyes in. Been Moyes out since Blackburn at home. Only we won't give him another year if we win. We uncomfortably stay up. Okay, so you've been Moyes out since Blackburn at home, but if he wins the Conference League and we stay up on 40 points or more, you would keep him then. Okay. Don't matter what the fans think, it will be down to Sullivan. Well, obviously, but we know that. I don't think he takes any notice whatsoever, Sullivan, of what the fans think or what the fans are saying or doing. And I don't think he's unaware. I don't think he's unaware of what the fans think. He's perfectly aware, and he doesn't care, frankly. Like you say, he'll just do whatever he wants, really. With Dad's army, if Moyes stayed, yeah. In my opinion, no room for sentiment. Fab Cresswell, Ogbonna, and Antonio have been shipped out in the summer along with Socek. I love Augie. I want Augie to stay. I love Augie. Believe the plan is for teams to show the trophy format game. Yeah. Under 18s can do the treble if they beat Man City. Ooh, that'd be nice. Imagine that. What a fucking season that would be. Cliff Mooney, just because it takes years for Moyes to trust a player, can't see the board giving him another 200 million. He will bed them in slowly. Better to put them on the pitch than a bed. Yeah. Lose tomorrow and we're down. That's a bit strong. I don't think we're down if we lose tomorrow. Look, I understand we've got tough games coming, and it would potentially make life difficult for us down the line. But I don't think it would be down if we lose tomorrow. I think the table would possibly contract. See, it's obviously, look, it's hard to know because we don't know what the other teams who are behind us now on the table are going to do in the running. Sometimes teams surprise you and pick up wins you don't expect them to. But I think that's a bit strong. I think we can lose tomorrow and still be okay, but it wouldn't help because if you look at the next two games, obviously we go to the Etihad midweek, and then we entertain Man United next weekend. If we lose tomorrow, is it entirely possible that we'd go on a game of 4 defeats in a row? I am including the Liverpool one that we just played. That would be 4 defeats in a row. Would that damage our chances of staying up? Absolutely. But of course, it would all depend on what the teams behind us have done in that same period. How many points they've picked up in their games. I mean, look, they all might keep losing and we might not be much worse off. It's very hard to say. It really is at the moment. All we can do really is go all out tomorrow, try and win that game at Palace. And we've got a good record against Palace. Even away at Sellers Park, even we tend to do well. So, and I do think Moyes will put his best 11 out. I think he'll really target this game to say, right, let's win this game. This could be the game that essentially gets us over the line for Premier League survival. So, given the next couple of games that are coming, I think he'll really, really want to go there and try and win that game. So hopefully the players can do that. If they can do that, I think we're home and hosed. And like I say, we can concentrate on the Conference League and winning that. I think we can rest every fucking one, against City, and just give them it because they're going to beat us no matter what. So why tire players for a loss? So rest everybody. Then you can have a go at Man United at the weekend. Next weekend you can have a pop at them. You put a really strong team out for the United game. Because equally, it's a balance, right? You don't want players to get knackered because you've overplayed them, but equally, you don't want them to go stale because they haven't played enough and they haven't kept that momentum going. So I think you could rest them for one game against City, bring them back in for the United game, and then take it from there. Make sure they're well rested and raring to go and fully fit for the Alkmaar game. Paqueta, look class. Oh man, Paqueta's unbelievable. What a fucking player! I know there were fans with some doubts earlier in the season as he wasn't pulling up any trees. But when you see him now, like completely settled, and I think he's really enjoyed. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. I think he's really enjoyed the way we've played these last couple of games. I think he much prefers that style of play. And when we were able to get on the front foot and get forward, you can see what he's capable of when you just allow him to go and attack. I mean, he's an unbelievable player. I love watching him play, and what a goal against Liverpool. That 1-2 with Antonio, and then just rifled it to the net. I mean, he's just wonderful to watch. Absolutely love Paqueta. A negative manager installs negativity amongst the players. Yeah, inevitably, no doubt in it. I think the players just are ignoring Moyes now. I think they're just going out and playing. Um, yeah, as Peter just said, the new tactic is do the opposite to Moyes' instructions. Epic says Moyes lovers blame the players not gelling for bad season. Moyes lovers blame the players for not gelling for bad season, changing tactics, and suddenly we look good. Well, yeah, that was all bollocks. I never believe. I never believed that we had bad players, and it was funny. I was starting to see it on social media, on Twitter, where people were starting to call some of the players not good enough and shit, because they looked it. Don't get me wrong; they fucking looked it for a lot of the season stuff, but I knew they were capable of a lot more than we were seeing, and it's taken far too long for them to be allowed to show that. They're doing it at the moment, thankfully, and hopefully we'll see a continuation of that against Palace tomorrow. 100%, yeah, win tomorrow, we'll be fine. We're definitely not getting relegated. We win tomorrow. The teams, from kind of like, is it Leeds down or Forest down? Whichever. I think for Forest jump ahead of Leeds with the win or something. But from there down, I think you're looking at 3 from kind of Southampton, Everton, Forest, Leicester, Leeds. If we win tomorrow, it's 3 from those 5. I got a feeling we'll also beat United next Sunday evening. We could. We absolutely could. United blow hot and cold. United could be very good on their day. You have to give them credit where it's due, but they can also be bang average on their day as well. They can also not turn up on their day and look pretty poor. So let's hope we get poor Man United. Got to win tomorrow, then rotation at City, as it's never going to be our night there, whereas we can beat Palace. Yeah, that's the ideal scenario. It makes things very tricky. We don't. If we lose tomorrow, it makes things very tricky. Now all of a sudden you're thinking, bollocks, man! I've got to put a team out away at City. We got to try and, Moyes will want to try and dig in for a point or something up at City, and we don't want that happening. If we get beat there as well, which is likely, very likely, regardless of what 11 we've got out. And now all of a sudden, these players are absolutely fucked. And we're coming into another game, hot on the heels of the City one, against Man United at home. And we have to go full strength on that and go all out and try and win that. In the meantime, the players are fucked. That would not be a good scenario whatsoever. That's why in the thumbnail I said this is a huge game against Palace. Not because I think losing it relegates us. It's just because losing tomorrow could cost us the Conference League. It's that important a game, I think, that we win this game tomorrow. Zaha back for them. Yeah, I heard. Not a fan of Zaha. And I don't mean for his talent. I just think he's a whiny bitch. Off the pitch, he's actually a very nice guy. I'm sure most players are. Usually I agree, and Moyes will shake his hand tomorrow, not after what Zaha did to his daughter. Yeah, I can't remember what that was exactly, but okay, people talking about Zaha here. In reverse fixtures, we've got 1 point against the final 6 teams to play. Thanks for that, Richard. That's a lovely stat to throw at me. I'm feeling okay about tomorrow. We tend to do well against Palace. Sorry, now there's conversation going on there between people. Steve Thomas said, I think Mubama should come into the first team squad now. Yeah, he looks ready to me. I think it's Mubama's time now. We've got to start integrating some of these youngsters into the team. Now, obviously, I know we're talking about under 18s. They're not all going to be ready right now to come in. I think some of them will need to play at least one season in the under 21s before we kind of properly integrate them into the first team where they're, in the match day squad every week. But yeah, there's some really promising youngsters. But I think Mobama's ready. I think he's proved he's ready. When he has played in the first team, I've been really impressed with him. Lewis has won again tonight against Leicester. Yeah, under 21s had a good win. It was a good time to play Brighton after first time game. Yeah, of course, it was a good time to play them, no doubt in it. But regardless of circumstances, I mean, this stage of the season for teams like Forest, I mean, it's all about the results and nothing else. Circumstances don't matter. Massive 3 points for Forest. I think only Stell remembers Everton in Division 2. Everton Brand New Stadium in the Championship. Yeah, I mean, it's just a nightmare scenario for them, isn't it? I'm afraid to play starting 11 too much, and a few get hurt. We'll suck to play Europa without Antonio Zuma or, God forbid, Rice. I don't worry about Rice. He fucking never gets injured, does he? Problem with Rice would be tiredness. I thought Rice actually really did look tired against Liverpool in that second half. He was making some really uncharacteristic mistakes. And when you see a player like Rice being a bit sloppy and giving the ball away, that's mental fatigue. That's all that is. That's mental fatigue. You never see Rice doing the things he was doing against Liverpool. I'd start Emerson over Cresswell, Augie for either CB, Downs over Soucek, Fornals over Benram tomorrow. We need resting. I'd happily start Emerson. I'd happily start Augie for Aguerd, but I would not drop Zuma under any circumstances. I think he's playing too well. I think Zuma's on fire at the moment. He's in great form. I don't want to see him dropped out of the team. If everything goes well tomorrow, you can rest him in the City game. But fine with Emerson and Augie for Aguerd, that'd be fine. Downs for Soucek, 100%. Fornals over Benny. Completely understand why. Benny's just not getting it done at the moment. He's in a little rut at the moment. Benny, I think he's still trying, but it's just not happening for him at the moment. And that happens to every player over the course of a season, where your form will dip and you're just not at it. And he's in that spot at the moment, Benny. Fornals, I don't know if I would do Fornals, to be honest. I've never really liked Fornals out on the left-hand side. I've never been a fan of it. I think if you were going to drop Benny, which I would totally understand, I'd actually play Cornet out there rather than Fornals. And I know Cornet hasn't looked great when he's come on the last couple of games, but I just think it's rustiness. I think if you started Cornet in the game and just leave him on the pitch, I think he might not have a great start to the game, but I feel like he'd grow into it as his sharpness kind of started to come back as the minutes went by and the more touches he got. I think he'd sharpen up pretty quickly. So yeah, I'd go Corney on the left rather than Fornals. I think we said that already. He got off injured. Ward-Prowse is there noble. He won't leave unless pushed out. That could be entirely true. We're going to find out soon enough because Southampton are nailed on for relegation. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, Ballon, if Ward-Prowse never left Southampton. It really wouldn't. I just think he's one of those players. He's not about the money. Ings was a waste of money. His wages are really ridiculous. Must have been a Sullivan signing. Should have saved the money and used Mubama more. Yeah, it could have gone that route. I agree. I think I don't understand the Ings signing. I really don't. I mean, I did feel like we needed a striker and I did want to see us bring one in. But if you're going to bring one in, at least bring someone in who suits the system. I mean, Ings has got no chance with Ings up front in his own. It's just not going to work ever. He can't do it. He can't do what Antonio does. He can't lead the line as a lone striker. He never could, and he never will. So I just don't understand Moyes' thinking. Um, no, I do think Moyes signed Ings. I do think it was Moyes who wanted to get Ings and got him. Um, I just don't understand the signing. Ings isn't an awful lot of good to you from crosses. You know, he's not that strong in the air, um, and he can't play up top on his own. Or at least if he does, he has to have a lot of support around him all the time. You got to get forward in numbers to support him quickly, and we haven't done that. So I just don't understand the signing. Because the way the under are playing, they'll probably relegate leagues. Yeah, yeah. Some of those under 18s are really good. I mean, that Kadua, that goal he scored in the cup final was unbelievable. It must be awful being bald. Nope, it's fine. Not a big deal. Cliff Newman, that's why we bought Ings, because he wasn't going to risk playing with Burma. Well, yeah, I think essentially that was it. He probably didn't want to have to lean on such an inexperienced player, especially at a time when he was under real pressure for his job. I don't think he had any intention of leaning on an under 18 player. So yeah, he brought in Ings. Corney and Ings front two. My opinion. If you had to rest Antonio and wanted to play a front two, that would be it. But away at Palace, I wouldn't play a front two away at Palace. I still like to keep the 4-3-3. And obviously Moyes is certainly not going to do it. Kiosi says Corney over Ings. Yeah, I think Corney would be a better option for the style of football that we play than Ings up top. I just don't think Ings can do it. Corney can. Ings can be used. Corney and Bowen putting the balls in. Player just behind him. Link up play with Bowen's quality. One of the goals would be Forest. However, I doubt things would change. Yeah. You can only play Ings, like I said, if you're going to get support up to him very, very quickly, and you can forget about sending long balls up there to him the way you can with Antonio. He's not going to run the channels and chase balls down and win those tough balls down the channels. Muscle a body defenders and stuff like that to get to hold up possession. It's not going to happen. I don't see it working. Yeah, not for me. Everton are like Jimmy Savile, been getting away with it for decades. About time they called out and sent down. Yeah, fair enough. That's a decent analogy. Southampton and Everton will be in front of relegation for it. Yeah, it does seem like an inevitability, certainly for Southampton. Southampton have kind of gotten away with it a lot for a while. So I think we always felt that Southampton's luck would run out at some point. And it looks like Everton now, possibly their luck has run out as well. But we'll see. You never know. There's enough football to be played. It's not like Everton are cut adrift. A win would do a lot for Everton. If they could beat Leicester, I mean, that would be huge. Home to Leicester, that's a game they can win. If they can take the 3 points from that, all of a sudden you're looking at Leicester and Forest and Leeds, saying, oh, if they lose this weekend, I think Forest will most certainly lose. Leeds, I can't remember who they play, but I think they've got a tough game as well, I think. Bournemouth, do they play? Is it Bournemouth Leeds? Was it Bournemouth Leeds? There was wasn't there another big game? Was it Bournemouth against Leeds? I think that's obviously going to have a huge bearing as well. Didn't Everton come close to 300 miles? You know what? I don't recall. I actually don't recall. Possibly. I mean, he was there a very long time. They probably did have mixed fortunes. Moyes is equally capable of getting you into Europe as he is of getting you into a relegation scrap from one season to the next. 17th once at least with Moyes. Didn't they? Did they like survive on the last day of the season? Last season under Lampard, I think, if I remember correctly. Just scroll down here. This conversation's going on. Ings is broken, not lone striker, so for sure Moyes starts him against the Palace up front in his own. No, I think he'll start Antonio. I think Antonio will start, but I think he'll be hoping to be in a strong position and to maybe be able to get Antonio off earlier than normal. Maybe 60, 65 minutes. If he can get Antonio off, he'd be delighted. Even 70 minutes, I think Moyes would be happy if you can rest him for the final 20. Everton have had long enough in the top flight. They've had a good run. About time they dropped out. No club has a right to stay in the top division. No, and they have been flirting with it quite a lot. And look, if they go down, it's because they're just not a well-run club at the moment. And like I say, they have flirted with relegation before and gotten away with it. I think by the skin of their teeth last season. So, if they go, they go. I mean, you will say it's kind of been coming. Should have stuck with Allardyce. Oh, geez, they hated him. Mickey Rowe says failure to get another decent striker and came back to haunt them like it kind of did to us when we did not replace Haller. Yeah, it took us fucking 18 months to replace Haller. Arsenal, the only club who've not been relegated from the top flight. Yeah, I didn't think I knew they hadn't, but I didn't think they were the only club. Reckon there's outside chance to come back and be back by end of season. I actually don't know. It's actually one thing I haven't heard. I haven't heard actually what's like the latest on Scamacca. I think I could just kind of put him to the back of my mind because the talk was that we wouldn't see him again this season. That his operation and he's out for the rest of the season. So I don't actually know where he's at in his recovery. Did he have the same operation as Zuma? I think was it the same operation? Souček's like the Duracell bunny. Yeah, fucking Souček, like he can just run and run and run. It's incredible. Keeping Paqueta is vital. Yeah, if we stay up, he'll stay. Especially you've got a new manager coming in, clean slate, fresh start for everybody. I think you'd be happy to say. I think it'll ruffle a few feathers if Moyes stays actually in the dressing room. I think there are at least a handful of players who I think will be very unhappy if he doesn't go. I don't think any players will be very unhappy if he does. Souček's probably be pissed off because he gets to play every week and he probably can't believe his fucking luck. But sorry, now just going to scroll down here to see if I can get anything. Yeah, Michael likes Postecoglou. Yeah, I would take Postecoglou. I really like him. Actually, I just always like how he speaks. I like how he comes across in interviews. I like his philosophy on the game. I like his style of play. If we were to take a punt on him, I know people say, he's, A League, J League, Scottish Premiership. He hasn't kind of had a big job yet in a proper league. If he came to West Ham, that would be his first kind of major kind of job as a manager. Another major job is in the size of the club he's with. Obviously, Celtic are a huge club in one sense, but I mean, I think his first club job in a really proper league, and Premier League is the proper league. So it would be a little bit of a punt, but fuck it, why not? I really like the way he conducts himself and the way he plays the game. Um, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more. P. Lucas says, if Rice is sold for the value of Paqueta, Emerson, Skamaka, would this be seen as money well invested? Thanks, Tommy. I think we have to be talking about 100 million. I don't want to see him go for any less. Barring there was some kind of players plus cash deal. If we're talking just straight cash, cannot be less than 100 million. It just can't. He's too good. I'm sorry, he's too good, and you're buying a player for the next 10 years, a player who's a brilliant midfielder and who's going to be the next England captain. I'm sorry, he's going to be worth every penny, and we're mugs if we take less than 100 million for him. Mick Ruff says Moyes could be judged on beginning of next season in terms of Sullivan's decision. Yeah, possibly. Look, would it surprise me if we kept him on, albeit, as I said, on a very short leash, and like he's got to kind of hit the ground running next season? I think that would just waste a lot of time, to be completely honest. I think he would be sacked next season. And then you've wasted a whole summer and however many Premier League games of next season when you could and should have had the new manager in. Plus, do you really want to give him the transfer kitty again this summer? I just don't think you can do that again with Moyes. I really don't. I think he's got to go. I'll just see if there's anything else here. A bit concerned with Aguerd, but can't be quality all the time. With Dawson, he'd physically put himself in the way of anything. Aguerd, though, has only played 14 league games. Is it something like that? Yeah. Yeah, look, he's had his wobbles. There's no doubt about it. He's had his wobbles. Zuma looks the better player at the moment. But, as you say, it's a bit too early to be condemning the man. He's done a hell of a lot of good things as well. So, hopefully he can settle down, kind of cut out some of the silly mistakes. He gets himself, I don't know, caught out of position sometimes as well, which he's got to stop doing. But overall, I think he's a very good centre back. Aguerd and Zuma tomorrow, hopefully. Yeah, I believe it will be. I fully expect that's what we'll get. Forget league matches. We're safe. Concentrate on semi-final against Aces as Azkaban. We can't forget league matches just yet. We can't. We can't go on a 4-game losing streak now because you just never know what the teams below you are going to do. I mean, they can rally, or at least enough of them can rally, so that we end up kind of, back in kind of 16th, 17th, and the teams in the relegation zone are only a couple of points behind us all of a sudden again. And now we're under massive pressure again. It's too early to say we are safe. We don't have enough points, in my opinion, right now to guarantee safety. But I think we're close. So, not I disagree that we're safe already. Now, look, we don't know what the final points tally will be and what will get you relegated at this point, but I think it's too early to say we're definitely safe. Paqueta's looking a world-class player. It looks like he can only get better. Yeah, he just keeps improving. I mean, he's just got so much talent. I love watching him play. Just what a brilliant footballer. I'd like to see Kara Zuma, Aguerd, back 3 with Fallon Emerson out wide. Yeah, I don't want to go 3 at the back against Palace. I really don't. I don't think it's necessary. Up at City, maybe you could do that. Away to City midweek, you could go 3. Because we're probably just going to be hanging on in that game mostly anyway. So we may as well have 3 centre backs in there and wing backs. but not against Palace. Karazuma Aguerd, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't do it against Palace. I don't think we need to be very defensive against Palace. Um, we have to go for it tomorrow. A win and we can all breathe. The Brazilian is on another level, definitely. He's just going to get better. His attitude is outstanding. That was loves guy. Yeah, I mean, geez, he puts himself about, doesn't he? He's not lazy. He's not a prima donna. Doesn't roll about, screaming and diving around the place and stuff like that. He's more like a European style midfielder, isn't he? No, don't get me wrong. I know there've been lots of Brazilian midfielders over the years. Like Brazilian midfielders have, I don't remember too many of them that have been soft. To be completely honest, Brazil have produced lots of kind of tough midfielders, and he's definitely one of them. He gets stuck in, he put himself about, and he works really hard. He's got a really good attitude. He's the 50 million pound man, but he doesn't act like it on the pitch. Like his attitude doesn't say I'm a 50 million pound Brazilian. I'm just going to swan about when we don't have the ball, not really try. But I mean, he works his socks off. I really love that about him. From the bottom four, would you take? There's some very good players up for grabs. There's more Gibbs White, Onana, Julia Piatti. Current bottom three. Yeah, Southampton. Yeah, there's not much. James Ward-Prowse. Yeah, I agree on Gibbs White. He's probably the only one really I'd be particularly interested in. I like Brennan Johnson, but he wouldn't suit our style of play whatsoever, and he's only okay. So Onana, obviously Everton. Yeah, Onana is the player we tried to get already last season and very nearly did. Yeah, there's actually not that many from the bottom three right now that I'd be kind of particularly interested in, apart from those already mentioned. Prowse has been told by Southampton that he can leave. Well, yeah, sure. If they go down, they will allow him to leave if he wants. Like they won't want to stand in the way of his career. But the question is, will he actually want to leave? He may not. He might just tell them, "Look, I want to stay. I want to stay and try and get us back up." Jake Collins, I'm 54 and can run faster than Ings. Absolute waste of money. Yeah, I think it was, to be completely honest. Guys, we have to start concentrating on who the next coach is. We win, stay up. Yeah. Rajesh says Ings' legs feel are crooked through injury, always protects them, can't run properly. Yeah, he looks like he's running in treacle, doesn't he, Ings? He's just got no pace whatsoever. Good point, Cliff. We need to focus on scoring and attacking more. Yeah, we have been a bit recent games. We have definitely been attacking more and trying to get goals, and we've got them. All of a sudden, we're kind of banging them in. But Ben was also needing other teams for the run in the league for the cup function. We're going to play them games too. Yeah, look, it was just important for Mobama to. Tommy, you and Moyes are similar in what sense? Bournemouth Leeds. Yeah, Bournemouth Leeds. Yeah, Sunday. What a game that is going to be! Massive. Moyes will manage Everton in the Championship next season. No, they'll stick with Dyche. They'll give Dyche a chance to get him back up. Cliff Moon, now we will stay up, no probs. We need to think long term now. Season finishes in weeks, and most of the top coaches will be gone if we're not careful. Yeah, I think in the summer, like you should be able to find a coach. Top coaches, can we get a top coach? What kind of people are we talking about here, Cliff? When you say top coaches, top coaches are hard to get anyway. If you're West Ham, it's not easy. But I think in the summertime, there's no excuse for not being able to get a really good manager in. There's plenty of them about. Do you think that was a good alternative to Tomas? Yeah, it's a much better alternative. I'd much rather see Downs in there week in, week out. I mean, I think Downs would continue to grow. he's been stunted a bit this season. Let's be honest. I mean, when we've seen him like in the first half of the season, when he was getting some games, particularly in Conference League group games and stuff, and he looked really good. And I think if you just put him in there and leave him in there, I think right now, if he'd played a bunch of games this season, kind of regular back-to-back games, lots of football under his belt. I mean, he's already by default just a better player than Souček, but I think he'd be even better. Richard B, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Alan Dunn, sorry, must have tried to flick that on. There we go. Some massive games this weekend. Not only ours, but you have Bournemouth v Leeds, Brentford v Forest, Newcastle, Southampton, Leicester versus Everton. Yeah, and just looking at those, I suspect Bournemouth will beat Leeds. Bournemouth need points too. They're not safe just yet. I have a feeling Bournemouth will win that one at home. I think they'll bounce back from their defeat against us. Brentford, I think, will almost certainly beat Forest. I mean, Forest on the road are awful. Newcastle at home to Southampton. I know what Southampton did at the Emirates. It caused a bit of a surprise and shocked Arsenal, almost beat them. But I don't see them doing it to Newcastle. Newcastle are scoring goals for fun. They're in tremendous form. Southampton are going to lose. And then Leicester, Everton. Hard one to call. I think that's at Goodison. I might be wrong. Are Leicester at home? If Leicester are at home, I fancy them to nick it. I think it'll be a really good game. I think it'll be really intense. I think both teams will really be going at it. I think it'll be a very close game. If there's a winner, I think it's more likely to be Leicester. Everton lose that one. I mean, they're in so much trouble. Tommy, don't forget Chelsea set the market for Declan. They bought Enzo Fernandez for 105 million, same position, and Declan as Declan. Declan's 100 times better than him. Yeah, Declan, you have to say, looks a much superior player to Enzo right now. Laetitia didn't leave. Yeah. I forgot about Lavia. I really like Lavia. He looks an excellent player. Do you know what it is in the summer? If I have like I have just one player that I just really, really want us to sign in this summer, and it's realistic. There will be interest in him this summer, and I do believe he'll be a Premier League player next season somewhere. I would love that to be at West Ham. That's Alex Scott, the midfielder at Bristol City. 19 years old, I think. Looks an absolute baller. I remember years ago, I really, really wanted us to sign James Maddison because I thought, wow, here's a player, has really got something about him. He's going to, just keep getting better and better. He's going to be a cracking player. And then obviously he went to Leicester for 20 million. I was gutted. I really wanted us to sign James Maddison. That's how I feel about Alex Scott at Bristol City. I think he's going to be very much like Maddison. I think he's the next James Maddison. I would love to get him in. Alex Scott would be top of my wish list for this summer, 100%. Absolute baller of a player, and he's only 19. He's just going to keep getting better and better. And let's put it this way: if we were to buy him for 20 million, down the line, I think we would sell him for a hell of a lot more. Big Russ saying, what about Iheanacho from Leicester? Not a fan. Not a big fan of Iheanacho, I have to say. I think we could do better. And on this note, I'm going to do exactly that. Tommy, go to bed. You look knackered. I am knackered, and I've got to do it all again tomorrow. So I will leave it at that. Just to finish on the Palace game briefly, I think Moyes will play the strongest 11. I don't think he'll rotate the team tomorrow. If there are changes, I think it'll be absolutely minimal. Don't think it'll really affect the overall team or our ability to get a result. I'm quite optimistic for tomorrow. I don't think we're going to lose. Let's put it that way. That we could draw. I think Leicester, or Palace, have been playing pretty well, bearing a reversal in their last game, but that happens. No one's going to kind of win every game, but we've got a good record against Palace, and we tend to do well against them, even at Selhurst. So I'm optimistic from her. I don't think we're going to lose it. I really don't. I don't think we lose that game. And I'm quite optimistic, not confident maybe, but optimistic. I think we're going to go there and win. I think we'll take them. I think we'll go and beat them 2-1. So I'm going to say 2-1 West Ham, and pretty much guaranteed safety. And then we can just rest fucking everybody against Man City away. Have a right pop at Man United next weekend, and we'll be in a lovely position if we win tomorrow, where we can really, really then make sure the players are well rested for the Alkmaar games, home and away. We can really, really go for it then in the Conference League, and go and try and win this thing, because we're certainly capable of it the way we're playing right now. Mickey thinks 2-1. West Ham Zoom to score. Cliff says, good show, Tommy. Thank you, Cliff. Alan Dunn, come up. Good night, Tommy. Great show as usual. Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Paul says, thanks, Tommy. Thanks for joining. And to the rest of you, of course. Martin O'Neill is in as well. Sorry, I missed you there, mate. Good show, Tommy. Son, bless up. Come on, your irons. Thanks, Martin, mate. Enjoy your weekend. So, listen, I'm going to leave it at that. Listen, I really appreciate you all joining me. Obviously, on my own here tonight, so you guys really helped me out. It's not always easy to go, hour and a half and keep having something to say, but you guys kept me going as always. So I didn't run out of words. But I am knackered now, so I appreciate you really all being here. Hopefully you can join me again next Friday night, and we'll have another chinwag. Hopefully we'll be talking about Premier League safety guaranteed, more or less, and looking forward to the United game. So until then, as always,